Alright, what's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If the title and the thumbnail haven't given away yet, I recently just got married to an amazing woman. I love her very much, but I also love to talk about finances and money. So, of course, I'm going to share with you how much we spent on our wedding, because if you didn't know, the wedding industry is a huge industry, like $60 billion a year. Huge. So if you enjoy the transparency in this video, be sure to give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel, as it helps the channel grow. And make sure you stick around to the end, where I'll explain why we spent what we spent on our wedding. So let's get on with it. Now, like I mentioned, the wedding industry makes quite a bit of money, and it makes sense with caterers and venues and photographers being able to charge so much, because everybody views this day in their lives as the day that needs to be quote unquote perfect. And so if that means paying a little bit extra for this add-on because I really wanted it, then so be it. And besides, this is supposed to be a once in a lifetime event. Now, no, NerdWallet did not sponsor this video, but they do write some articles that I like to read every once in a while. And they wrote one about the average cost of weddings. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Alright, so according to NerdWallet, who says according to the Knot, the average couple spent $33,900 in 2019 on their wedding. And that doesn't even include the honeymoon. Now, they have this nice graphic down here that breaks down some of the common expenses for weddings. And you'll see the reception venue is $15,439. The ceremony site, $2,382. Transportation, $856, and I'm not really sure what that one would be. Then you have the photographer and videographer, of course, which $2,000 to $2,600 for that. The event planner is $2,000. Officiant, $286. Wedding dress, $1,631. A DJ is going to be $1,292, and the wedding cake, $528. Now, these expenses are pretty crazy. I promise that we did not spend that much on our wedding, but I'll get to that. And one point that I want to make about averages is that one crazy expensive, like multi-million or just $1 million wedding is going to be an outlier, and it's going to drastically increase the average compared to a dozen or 2 dozen cheaper weddings. So most couples, I would say, spend a good amount less than the average, so at least that's good news. Alright, so now before you start falling in love with a venue or with a dress and letting your emotions kind of make your financial decisions, you and your partner need to sit down and set a budget for your wedding. That means determining the max you're willing to spend on your wedding, and then what the priorities are for that day, and then allocating percentages for those certain areas. My wife and I did this whole process, and in the end, we ended up coming nowhere close to our max because we said screw spending that much money. Now, like I said before, everybody kind of wants this day to be quote unquote perfect. And even though my wife and I, we live kind of simply, we don't really live extravagant lives, we found it easy to be like, this venue has this when this one doesn't, so let's go with this one, even though it's a little bit more expensive. Or this photographer's photos, they don't look as good as this photographer's photos. Or my favorite meal is steak, so can we have steak at our wedding? Now, eventually our values did catch up with us, and I'm not sure if we just set our budget limit and kind of like this awkward phase of like allowing us to have some nice things but not all nice things. It was like we had nice things and kind of cheaper things, and they wouldn't really look well together. But we found it very easy in our areas to go over our budget. Alright, so getting into how much we spent. Our initial budget for the wedding was $10,000, and we wanted about 150 people there. But after several months of frustration, we ended up just doing a small and super cheap wedding. In the end, it was just my wife and I, obviously, and then both of our parents. So 6 people in total. And we ended up paying $34 for our license. It's originally $30, but the courthouse charged $4 fee for cards, and they ran debit as credit. So if you go to the courthouse, make sure to bring cash with you. It'll save you $4. My wife spent $75.56 on her dress and $48 on makeup. And then the only number that I don't have like an exact number for is the flowers that my wife walked down the aisle with. And we're going to say that those cost about $20 because they were bought with other things and we didn't keep the receipt. So And then finally, our most expensive item was our rings. We both just got simple kind of gold bands, and both of those combined were $252.52. So in total, we spent $430.08 on our entire wedding, which is $33,469.92 less than the average couple spent on their wedding in 2019, according to NerdWallet. And going back to that graphic, we actually spent $100 less on our entire wedding than the average couple did for just their wedding cake. Now, I'm pretty happy with this number, and obviously it could have been done for cheaper, but both of us had a good day and we made some good memories, so we both think it was money well spent. So why spend so much less than the average? And I think one thing that people often forget when it comes to weddings, or really any purchase in general, is that no matter how small or large the purchase is, there is a financial cost that is visible, but there's also an opportunity cost that isn't so visible. So let's say that you decide to spend $15,000 on a wedding. If you spend that $15,000, what are you missing out on? That could be a down payment for a house if you're a first-time homeowner, and if you decide to house hack, that could build you equity while reducing your housing costs for as long as you choose to live in that house. You could also invest that money. If my wife and I invested the difference between our wedding and the average couple's wedding, that would be $33,469.92 invested, which after 40 years would be about $500,000 or a little bit more. Or even if we just did the $15,000 mentioned earlier, which is definitely a more realistic number for most couples, that $15,000 after 40 years would be worth $225,000. Meaning the opportunity cost for a $15,000 wedding is $225,000. And depending on what type of lifestyle you plan to live in retirement, that could be 2 to 4 years of earlier retirement than you were initially planning. Now, I know the way that I think is drastically different than most people's train of thought. My wife and I would much rather have freedom from our jobs sooner than a large celebration, and we would also rather have a small and intimate and meaningful celebration over a large one where you don't get to eat any food and you might get to talk to some of the people you invited for only like a couple of minutes. I think most people, they need to start considering their finances and their purchasing decisions this way, especially their large purchases. But if you really want a big and expensive wedding, then that's okay. I'm glad you know what you want. Just don't go into debt for it. An Insider article found that 28% of Americans went into debt to pay for their wedding. Don't do that. It's a bad way to start your marriage. But that's all I have for this video. In summary, my wife and I spent $430.08 on our wedding. But it can be done for cheaper, so I want to challenge you to do so. Leave a comment down below of how much you spent on your wedding, and I'll be sure to give recognition to the person who spent the least. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and as always, don't forget to do something nice for someone random this week. See you next time.